So, I decided to make this video as a direct result of the fact that there's this Futurama episode that referenced a mathematician I greatly enjoyed about the sum of two cubes. And I was like, right, I have to describe, because I did this whole Sabine thing, like how the hell it is that, like, you can understand my math, right? The basic premise. And I'm like, oh, well, there's a great example of how to figure out this. I mean, that's essentially what it is. You're going to add certain cubes in a given data set volume, and then you're going to use a flowing, fourth dimension as it uses influential values in a given area. As it happens to propagate through a finite or whatever screen area, but then you're going to do multiple screens, in multiple directions to create a cloud of various influential, multi-dimensional causal set theories of thermal and fluid dynamics. That's how you effectively allow for clumps of entropytic data to have this given type of quantum gravity. Long and the short of it is, this ball works with this ball, and then it does thingy things, and then all of a sudden you should down the line work it out to making this thing occur. Because we're talking about cubes, however, you know what I mean? You have to understand volumes, basic stuff, right? Anyways, so there's no, obviously, whiteboard over there, so you're not getting that. I'm just stepping back so I can use the hands. You gotta understand with the hands, okay? I like to talk with my hands. So anyways, you already got the basic premise, I'm sure. But if we ever want to understand how a given universe might be influencing us or inside of us, and same thing with a given type of time variance of the past and or causal set theory, fade in and or Big Bang, you're going to have to understand how a fluid and thermodynamic property of our quantum physics happens to influence larger masses of foam and macroscopic alongside of the astrophysics cosmological scale, which definitely interact, which I've already stated. And if you know about like the whole prop thing, it's like, this is light and neutrons and vacuum and so on. It spins and it goes, and it's like, well, I'm already moving. I suck it in, and it goes, boom, with interference. That's quantum phenomenon, which happens to also increase and decrease the amount of pressure, and so increases the amount of speed. That's thrust. But we're not done yet, because that increases and decreases vacuum pressures as well in given areas. And we're also inside of a nice little Oort cloud of a solar system. Now, if you happen to know how multiples of these light streams and gravitational wave influences, vacuum pressures, and more coincide, then you start getting greater and greater degrees of influence in the field arenas. Basic, you gotta understand. Now, I like to think about cubes like this because it's like, well, the sum of these two cubes equals what? When they're moving around in a fluid dynamic way. A possible new universe, a multiverse. Experimental mathematical constant possibility if we manage to get all of our stuff accounted for, and whether or not there might be something there. That's why I like to look at it like that. Now, I thought about that guy because it was like, that's really sad. He died at 32. I'm 32. I'm not planning on dying. I don't have any sickness, but still, scary. It's what it is, right? But it's like, right. But we're not done yet. You have to remember that, right? So it's like, no. We can't see as entropy happens to start influencing with, because mass and then resistance in these clumps, which of momenta, field, and then, a split second. And also we have to, it's this cage, and then and if we were to measure, because mass does not get, this clump, and I'm like, I gave you a way to see how it is your influential measurements are taking out given quantum informational bits in bytes, which eventually get to the point where you start seeing influences of mass propagation of information, which you don't state in there as part of your experiment for your little marble box bullshit, which bothers me. You know what I mean? Like, information thermodynamically, that's a pressure. That's in field of influence. You don't think about it, but nothing's ever absolute zero. And if something is there, there's a propagation of that information's bit system throughout our space-time, right? And it's given influential value in a given set of gravitational wave propagation as a wave function. It increases and decreases based upon not just thermal, but pressure. Thermodynamics is both pressure, but that's a fluid dynamic. That's a field and fluid, fieldic fluid, and a fluidic field, right? A pressure wave through a given material, and a field is that pressure wave. You get it? But you need to think multidimensionally. That's why I was like, well, this is a fourth dimensional construct. I'm currently uploading a video to Joe Scott about his given, is there a center of the universe? And it's like, well, the answer is kind of complicated. I answer it in there. The answer is kind of technically yes, but it'd be really hard for us to know. Whole thing. But then we're going to get into a cube. So if you take it into multiple little cubes, you sum it up in this little area, and the fluidic field influential natures over a given time, which then acts like that little ball. There's this many directions to get to the edges of the ball, right? A perfect sphere takes a infinite number of directions, right? But they're all taking a right and then a left, right? Right. So if you know that, then we're not fully done yet, because it's like, well, that's essentially what a bunch of cubes are doing, except really realistically, it takes the path of least resistance, which happens to travel over a given distance, and the given types of field of influence observe each other, both relative to itself, observing itself, but also relative to others observing it, creating a propagational wave that slows down and acts like a given mass value. Momentum, right? Pretty simple stuff, but you'd have to understand space-time, because that's a part of space-time. Even if you don't like it, because you're like, it's just the particles! I'm like, it's not the particles. That's space-time itself. You wouldn't understand that, probably because you're an astrophysicist, or an electrical engineer, or just a layman, which is fine. If you are not those things, then you probably understood what I was saying from the beginning. But that's okay. Even though I don't have a PhD, you now understand why and where you went wrong and incorrect in your assumptions of whether or not I was. That's normal. You often don't think that people like myself could learn something like this or even be correct. It's normal. Okay? But that also means I have to understand that I'm intelligent. We can do that. That's called self-awareness. That's a quantum phenomenon, otherwise known as self-special relativity, quantum relativity. Particles and fields can understand that they are related to themselves in there as themselves versus each other, and then ultimately understand how it propagates, right? Pretty simple stuff. Now, it doesn't take information to understand yourself that much, right? Because we don't understand how that's stored, is what you'd say. But we do, actually, a little bit. But that bounces off of a multi-dimension. See, this is us, propagating through as the flat land of space-time. And then this is the actual definition that's different. That's information. That's a dimensional information. It stores itself as it moves through space and time. Even space and time itself will have its own dimensional informational storage, as a result of how it can have its own higher dimension, right? But they don't like dimensions. A lot of them don't like dimensions. I'm like, why? It's not hard to imagine them. It's really super simple. I don't see why it's so difficult, personally, but, that's kind of how I learned. So, but a good way to describe it is like, take this egg, right? And it's like, right, now the dimension of the egg is a little different. You have a yolk, you have all the little gooey bits around the yolk, and then you have the membrane, and then you have the shell. Now, the theory goes such that there's a membrane and that there's a shell, a harder part. But the thing is, the shell is not perfectly non-permeable, as you've all probably been through in biology. There's a reverse osmosis, right? Well, that's a dimension. That's literally what a dimension's acting like. It's a quantum informational exchange from the membrane to the shell to whatever else might be around. If something was there, you'd be able to see any kind of influx or exflux exchange, right? Because we have a certain pressure inside, and there's a certain type of exhaust and or intake, like a human body's cell, okay? Now, as cells in our body propagate, move, and give information, we intake something, yes, but we also exchange things. Right? You can understand that. Now, the way that our cells communicate is more field, meaning electron exchange, right? Is it ionic? Yeah, no, but shape and then change of given field ionic and orbital mechanics, which also happen to propagate how, ultimately speaking, a given type of substance, chemical, happens to propagate back into it and works either as the connector or the expulsor, right? The idea of a attractive and repulsive type of electromagnetic force. We can understand that. Well, gravity does the same thing, is what we posit. But it's a little different because, of course, the information has to be added in, right? So if as information goes through, of course, it produces chaos. As kinetic, uniform versus chaos, jumbled, right? Chaos is thermal. Thermal meaning non-specific directional, which I've stated before. But it's like I need to describe this to people because it's like, well, you probably don't know what the hell it is. I should step back. Hell it is that you're wrong about, right? That's how the math checks out. See, momenta, quantum momenta, bits, happen to have a directional relative to us. That's a dimensional view and perspective. As it goes this way, we only see it going that way, but to the onlooker, it looks quite warm, does it not? Suddenly goes bang, and then, ooh, is that a bang? As it smacks into something. Is that another membrane, or is that something else? A possible expansionary, vacuumary force. As I am compressed, as I once were, and then I moved, I can now expand, because there's, of course, no pressure there for it to move into, and it doesn't need to stay together. Now, we call it condensing in thermodynamics, but compression and condensing are very similar things, except we got rid of this thermodynamic. Thermodynamic is such a weird one, because it's like, if you really look into that, it's just chaos-ish. But the best coolers we have are about eliciting that boundary layer reduction chaos. Okay, a good way to put that is, in the orbit as it moves, in the nucleus as it moves in a vibratory manner, it starts to become less and less able to move seemingly randomly. Again, it is less resistance in those given directions, but when we start to direct it, what do we see? It likes to still follow path of least resistance, and you can cool it by putting channels around, right? It becomes able to flow a little bit better, and now it goes to condensing. Now the energy has to go somewhere, of course. We usually use those as radiators, but still, the process is the same. right? Now, if you happen to know about the jumbled, seemingly chaotic nature of a universe as a cube, and then you go all the way down to the momenta, of course, it starts looking quite similar. It's almost like it fits perfectly in between the smallest to the largest. Then you can start learning how to sum of two cubes, as you can look at multi-dimensions and its movements. It's a fluidic dimensional box. There you go. Basic stuff. But that's also why I go and view a lot of people like, you probably don't know that I'm right. Right? Like, being intelligent and knowing about these, like he did, like that mathematician on Reddit, I figured I would butcher his name, I'd have to go do it again, look it up. Anyways, point is, taught himself these things. He didn't go to college. He didn't do any of the things that normally others do. Still got there, still became important, still learned a lot. The assertion that I do not know and that I must prove to you is not correct. That's not how that works. I don't know if you know that, but that's a false logic. A person might genuinely come up with the right answer and have no idea what it is any of it's about. You must understand that part, at least a little, right? And if you do, then it's like, then if you're arguing with me, then you're already on the back foot. It doesn't make sense. And if you don't understand how it is I'm viewing a multi-dimensional, multi-moving part system, that's okay. You don't view things like I do. A lot of people didn't view the sum of two cubes in a mathematical number thing. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't. I do sometimes, but mine's more of a different kind of shapey thing and movie thing and stuff like that. Like, I can just sort of see them in my head. Doesn't take much. You know what I mean? Like, they fit together. Yeah, It takes nothing. But, describing that to people is really difficult. So then it looks stupid. That's normal. You know what I mean? I've gotten used to that. As an ADHD person that's been infantilized most of my life, it's been pretty normal to have to, So what words do you know again? And how is it that you understand these concepts? Do I need to describe some of these concepts to you better so you can understand them in a different type of way and perspective and scale? So that they're more correct and you didn't ultimately believe something incorrect? You know what I mean? Like, I used to do that a lot when I was a kid with my parents. So that's the thing. But it's like, all right, the sum of two cubes. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is because it's like, well, that's a way to break fluid dynamic and thermodynamic constructs down into where it's solvable, provable math now. Along with wave propagation and influence both past as it, pressurizes something and it creates a big draft, and then there's a radiating entropy informational system that, of course, is still going to influence things. That's densities, fluid dynamics. A lot of people might not understand that. That's okay, you don't need to. Think, this is air and this is a fucking solid finger. Densities. You know what I mean? If you got that, then you can kind of grasp how a moving fluidic, thing can work like that. This is Earth, and of course there's space in between. But space in between is a bunch of fields and informational movements between those given fields, along with many other less dense particle soups existing. You know what I mean? For me, it's like, let him talk. He's going to say stupid things. He sounds stupid. You know what I mean? Like, he's clearly wrong. He doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? And it's like, I used to deal with that in high school a lot. I just sort of learned to shut up for a while and then just let the teacher just describe exactly what I said. And then I'd just look over to the student that's my peer and just be like, you know what I mean? Like, oh. Yeah, kind of bullshit, right? They didn't really realize that, like, until later. They eventually, like, apologized to me, like, in between classes, and I was going to another class. Um, but that was one, and it was a woman. Like, the other guy is just like, no, and I didn't say anything until, like, much later. And then, like, they got taken out to go to, like, some, like, after school, like, you have to do your homework and stay around after school kind of shit, because I just never do my homework. You know, I get home and I'm like, fucking hell, I hate doing homework. I can barely handle my parents. So I'm not going to do that. Not to mention, like, back when I was a kid, it was like tests showed that you knew what the material meant, right? I don't need to do a whole bunch of homework. Look at all my homework. It's like 80% of your grade. If I had to do 80% of my work at home, I'd be wanting to get paid more. I mean, I'm working for home, aren't I? What the fuck is that? Makes no sense. That's what that is. You know what I mean? But then it's like, no, we need to train you into believing that you need to take your work home from when you were in school. Yeah, they do though. That's what that is. But you know, that's a conspiracy. Like they don't fucking like kind of do that. You know, like talk and like, yeah, well, you know, this could help me actually. There are good reasons, I swear. You know, bullshit like that. I'm gonna move on. So it's like given little bit systems, because that's all they're doing. That's quantum field theory, effectively. If you don't know that, right? That's quantum field theory. But if you want to add in thermodynamics, you have to understand causal set theory and pressure dynamics, along with wave function, collapses, and a multi-dimensional view. Instead of it's just a screen with a screen with a thing. That's stupid. It's clearly not. Who said? I don't care what that guy said. So? I'd go right up to that fucking professor and fucking chew him out. That's bullshit. It's clearly multidimensional. Dude, hey, you know, space, I'm poking you. You're over there. There's distance! You fucking knob! No, I need to describe it to the students! Yeah, I don't care, you little fucking douche. Feynman. Ugh, whatever. You do realize that, though, right? Like, you know, there's a whole fucking, like, whole thing. There's even other things and things like to pop in and slightly go, dink, off to the other way inside. You didn't fucking even know about that shit, did ya? Well, I can't see that where it's at. Oh, you can't see where it's at in a given type of thermodynamic pressure range within a given informational context of whether or not least likely to higher likely probabilities thanks to given densities and thermals and movement of information between the given things you're looking at. Why? Why can't you? I don't know, bitch. Fuck you, professor! I paid a lot to fucking get this education! I'm that Karen guy. I need this because people care tremendously about whether I have a degree. They view me as more. I'm doing this for a reason. I need to be special. You might have some issues there, man. It's a lot of pressure. I'm never going to be able to pay this off. You don't even know. You like made a whole bunch of shit. Everybody paid you a lot of money. It's bullshit. I don't know. It's just something I think I would do. You know, not really, honestly speaking. But, like, then at the same time, you know, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to imagine it, right? Because it's totally fuck with the guy. I feel like, Yeah, but like, have you considered the basic bitch following in any way? They didn't even have field theory back then. It was hilarious. It was like, this would have been boom. There was no field theory at all. There doesn't stay in any way. We're just barely understanding movement. You're like, there's probably these other particles and fields. You dick. I don't even know what quarks really like are possibly maybe made out of, right? Like, right? You know, like kind of weird stuff. But like, it's a thing, you know? And then it's like, no, we don't want to use vacuums that's phononic pressure wave fucking particles and fields. Why? Because we can't measure that. That's really hard, okay? I don't care, but why not? That doesn't matter. You can still see, they're there. What? Meanwhile, the math is... What's the information particle field? It's gravity, obviously, quantum gravity. And it starts to clump together, obviously, to make more of a given type of less chaos, more ordered, quicker, faster informational travel between any given thing. Duh. What the fuck? What's so hard about that? Yeah, but... Sure. Right. You fucking bitch. Get out of my class. 5 minutes is like, fuck this student. F. Just big fucking red letter F. F for Feynman. Meanwhile, I probably shouldn't approach it that way. I think there were some reasons as to why I got failed there. Proceeds to make a whole bunch of cool engines, you know, that's on my channel. Boom! Still successful. I made programming! Anyways. Right, we haven't really discussed this. It's all snippets. I want to keep you entertained, obviously. But it's like, alright, so if you can understand the construct of a given bit, which a bit can be a field, a vacuum, a particle, or any of that, which they're all going to break down into a given, I'm a little boxy influence thing. And then go, and then it sort of continue along, and there's all this, and there's like two of them, you know, that kind of thing. And then they get to a big fucking one that's our size, you know what I mean? Anyways, there's some that are neutral. No! I want to play! There's others like, no, come on! Hey, come on. Why don't you want to play with me? Meanwhile, I'm like, vacuums go, you're playing with me! I don't give a fuck! We're doing this together! Meanwhile, me. Okay, vacuum. Alright, fine. Jeez. Fucking gosh. This guy wants me to go over here. I don't really have a choice. There's a lot of pressure behind me. Damn thermals. Where's my metal sponge? I want to go back. Meanwhile, space and time's like, yeah, we have this thing called information. If you want to fucking do a little bit of information around, it kind of like allows you, you know, a little causal set differentials, you know, with this nice like little oscillatory circulating design. And then maybe you can go pop back over there like where you were. Thermodynamics go, oh yeah, How you gonna make that happen? I need that information so we can get you to go the fuck over there. Meanwhile, we're looking at a second fucking law going like, yeah, how come it doesn't go backwards? How come it doesn't just go backwards? Why didn't it just go backwards? Meanwhile, ding! Here's some math for you. What do you know? I'm not describing time at all. Time's just a construct of entropy, though, for what it's worth. Because it's like, oh, we started moving, and then things happen, and then we view it like stuff is going on. And I guess this thing that kept going on, and my memory and conscious awareness of observation happens to state that things happened. And I can't know about all that other stuff, but it's doing things around this kind of like tickety-taka-waka rattle here. Meanwhile, it's time! Says the quantum field theorist, time! Sounds an awful lot like you're real angry about gravity and entropy and thermodynamics really being what all time is. Suck it up. You know what I mean? Just gonna go over here and fucking do things, while you fucking have a massive, episode, I suppose, about, your time problem and field theory just being reduced down to thermodynamics. I'm so angry about this. I don't know why. It's almost like I described their whole issue with time and the paradoxical relations of information going backwards and forwards and being resisted in so doing. Hey! You! Could you give me a way out of the... I stuck my entire career into fucking time being this. Meanwhile, me just plays with quantum gravity. Tick tock, tick tock, tick. Looks like it's working. Ow! Anyways, but it's like, no, you don't understand about the box thing and the whole fucking gravity thing, right? You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, no, there's a bunch of fingers. It gets all tripped up and to push through all this fucking shit. There's a bunch of shit that's just getting pushed through, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, hey, what if I wanted to make the largest wall just try and travel real quick through an atmosphere? What if it just kept getting harder the more energy you put in? Unless you sucked some things out of the wall in front of it and put it behind it. Proceeds to start looking at more and more faster and faster things that are like black holes. Entropically, that's getting rid of a large amount of any chaos directionality and really putting it into this directional kinetic momentum bit system that really keeps going inwards and spreading out this time idea for it to take more and more information to travel, and then there's a given distance that it has to do that. It has to spend more energy tunneling and hopping and then getting information that it's there in the first place. Of course, else has to break down some of that. That's going to lose some of the information as it has to, right? But of course, it's not lost. It just got converted. It's almost like there's more and more space inside of a black hole from nowhere. Where did it come from? Oh, it's entropic thermodynamics, huh? It's gravity, eh? It's almost like it's totally solvable by the sum of some cubes, huh? And some movement of them over time and given screens and diagrammic 3D spaces. Meanwhile, where's your math? I just do it in my head. Can't you? What's so hard about it? I don't... What are your symbols I need to learn? So I just go... And then it's like this with your observation. I input the blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, oh, what do you know? It's working, right? Could you maybe learn those? I don't really feel like it. That seems boring. They look weird. They seem intimidating for some reason. I don't know. They just don't look cool. I don't like them. Like, there's this thing called, like, psi. I'm like, what the fuck? What's this about? Why does psi gotta be like that? I could just write any symbols. Proceeds to look at my black hole deep dive into the, quantum thing playlist. Oh yeah, no, I did make symbols in there towards the end that I use specifically to describe nothingness areas that are not quantum foam. They're well below the membrane area, which I describe and how that works. What? Yeah, no, I did. Why? What's so wrong about that? I'm allowed to do that. Nothing says I can't just say what I'm seeing in my head as best I can. Now, granted that I was having issues, so, it's a long one. They're each an hour each. So there's that. But there's, and I'm trying to, like, really give you the razzle-dazzle, boom! You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Just giving you a, and what do you know? Oh, I just suddenly entered something, and you thought you could predict what I was saying, and then I just went like, nope. Just know you were wrong. Oh, actually, turns out. Oh, what happened? Where did Meanwhile, I describe a whole bunch of shit in there. It's almost like I described this already. More than you know. God, jeez. Thank you. So you watched that? Very few people watched that. I had nobody subscribe to me. I only have 26 subscribers. Would love more. Honestly. It's like, no, you cannot be paid attention to until you do it our way. You fucking... That's the only way we'll treat it like this. That it's valid. Bitch! You will only get followers and a whole bunch of people looking at you, and that's the only way you can be valid. Meanwhile, I'm just bothered by a lot of things. It's just like, well, that's pressure differentials, if you really wanted to break that down, just FYI, for a galaxy, and that's a quantum, which then turns it into, guess what? Dark energy and dark matter. Potentials. Right? Like, in, out, condensing as it expands outwards, has to, because it's different, of course. I think light doesn't really have thermodynamic increased pressure energy. It constructively interferes, and because it's baryonic, it condensed its information. Just like some neutrons can, and other types of nebula gases, right? Same thing with fields. Fields can be intaken and then used the same way. And if they're being shot out in that direction, that means they can influence them to become more baryonic in that area as it travels through, and then creates a given type of influence and interactive and interference profile that expands them. Which will eventually get some degree of increase in seeming gravity. It's not really gravity. It's not really. Hey, sorry, no gravity, sorry. I just did the condensy thing where, like, I technically lost energy that I had initially, and then it condensed. And then it expands, and then it takes a certain amount of energy, and then I lost that energy as, like, an ice cube, and then it, evaporates or melts, and then it gets colder in the inside. Good way to describe that is if you ever held an ice cube in your hand and you blew air from your mouth over it, then you know that, like, the ice cube gets colder on your hand, which I've done in the past when I was a kid. And it was like, behold, galaxies, superclusters. You know what I mean? And it's like, behold, all of the, universe, basically. Even the dimensions of entropy, effectively, which is kind of cool. I'm just letting people know, especially when it's like, I can, hey, over there. Meanwhile, fine, what do you need this pocket for? Boom. Ha! You tunneling bitch! You get back here! Where are you going? I had so much energy, I just tunneled. Meanwhile, that's literally the definition of my whole, like, it's not a superconductor. It has resistance. It has electrical resistance. It uses electrical resistance for that. But anyways, it goes, you know what I mean? Kind of like that. So it goes inwards as it spins. It also goes outwards while it spins. And then it goes, like, from this as it moves, and then like, goes, yeah, okay, fine, whatever the oh, hey, actually, I have a thing there. Boom. Ow! Okay. Hits it right at the right freaking little resin. Dunk. Oh, hey, that's an informational travel pressure wave through this orbital feed. Dunk, dunk, and it goes, and it just recirculates, like, kind of like a battery, as it flows around. Real high current. Look at mine. Volts. Otherwise known as, actually, they do have quite a lot of force, FYI. But also, there's a lot of pressure behind, like, little tiny ding-a-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding-dinks. And they're always just hitting them, like, just flicks. Just fucking lots of flicks right at the right time, just keeping it up right wherever the fuck it is. Just stay right there. Just boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Anyways, it goes, it does a whole bunch of that. Next thing you know, you have a light that goes, brrr. But then you go like, oh, well, I could use that for any quantum informational energy. Can't I? Well, yeah. Then I was like, look at this rock. It's like a superconductor that has exawatts. Just going through it of the hour variety. Your resistance will be used to make my flow rates high. Like vibrations and electrons and fields. You guys just don't get it, do you? You have to think about it like an added kind of cube that overlays and then like collapse the right way. And then it's like a bunch of resonances as it moves over time, right? And then it likes the tunnel in between, which creates an expansionary pressure. But then that expansionary pressure gives both a pressure wave over, but then also like sort of holds it because it'll have to, and then it has to move. You know what I mean? Anyways, it's not statically standing still, and it has a lot of resistance in it. It doesn't get rid of it, but it's look at all this current. Look at all this fucking volt. Look at everything. Your resistance will be used for my fucking goddamn use. Meanwhile, okay, fine, I guess. I'm just I can't do nothing. I guess I'll just not like some things. I don't know. What the fuck am I gonna do? Oh, I can't move. Why can't he move? Oh, I'm not allowed to move. Okay. Oh, I'm back here again. Oh, fucking shitty bit. No. You did go over there. Okay, like you did not. You just tunneled back. It's normal. It's normal. But see, you're also over there. But you're not entangled. You're going to go travel over to there. What? You didn't really technically not go over there, I'm just saying. Yeah, no, but nobody remembers I went over there. Yeah, everybody remembers. That guy remembers. Yeah, I remember. I'm just letting you know. You definitely did do that. I'm just saying. Meanwhile, me, who's like cultured, you know what I mean? I'm not that fucking like weirdo. Yeah. You did. You walked back. I'm watching you walk back. Yes, you did. Meanwhile, the actual look and view of it from afar, all right? It's doing work energy. Yes, there is some fat still there, you know. I remained exactly as the size I am as always. You condensed when you went over there, bitch. I saw that. I can smell the shit out of you, okay? I'm just, yeah, but he took that. So nobody knows. Nobody will know. You mean you held a vacuum up to it? Who's he? Fun stuff, honestly speaking. I'm just letting you know, because that's essentially what it is. But it's like, this quantum informational vacuum, of course, gets the information of the travel, and then it gets burned off as the vacuum effectively gets filled, and then gets placed back into the fatty part of us. You know what I mean? So, a bit bigger. Turns out, everybody knew what you did! You didn't fool no one! I'm just saying. Just saying. We all know what you did. You can all... It's still around a little. No, I ate that. Oh, really? Did you? Yeah, well, I mean, there's enough... And then all of them are there, right? Right next to each other, just like, yeah, my back. They're like, no, I'm still an electron. Meanwhile, our view, it's like, it's not even there. It's a vacuum. No, it's... The fuck? What did you just say? The vacuum's... It's just a What? It's clearly there. Oh, bullshit. That's not virtual. That's clearly there. That's... What the fuck? Why are you saying that? There's clearly a fuck... I can see it. Yeah, no, just... From this angle, just go over to this angle. Yeah, and then do it over time. But why are you only using snapshots? Did anybody teach you how to fucking measure in real time over time? What are you doing? Do you have a top view at least? I can see it easy. Fucking hate this guy. Let me just get some lasers over here. Real close by. Oh, really? Oh my god! There's suddenly an electron! It changed space and times. Did it? Are you sure it's space and time instead of like there's an electron there that clearly altered some of the photons' directionality? Let's just filter out the given influence of any given electron in that area, then we'll see. Let's look at this noise data, okay? But, oh my god, it did move. It was still there. How did you do? The expected value of a given area, cube plus some denoise this expected averaged out electron mass. Hey! If I move this distance forward and rearwards, cubed, space dynamic, goes back. What does it add to? Exchange, a photon movement. Yes! Yeah! Do they not understand that though? I feel like they don't sometimes. I feel like they're really weird. It's like, it's not that hard to understand. It doesn't seem that hard to fucking calculate or measure. Behold, the entirety of all of everything I have. Me just... Oh, what? No way! It's not possible for me to do this impossible thing you're asking of me. Suck my dick and balls. Anyways. Let me think here. Right, so then, scale to universe. Just do that now. Right now, this is expected body of gas with with the lighty things and the electromagnetics that it'll put out and the influence in the fucking electron and blah, 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 photon and movement. And then these constants should change based upon this given type of value system of these given type of interference profile of these given types of light. And then mass densities and then electron densities and then electromagnetic densities and field movement propagation waves. Not that hard. I don't see what the problem is. You can now measure basically the same equivalent for our gaseous body that we orbit. It's a lot of thermonuclear shit up there, you know? Meanwhile, me proceeds to look at exactly that for the, like, whatever it was, if it's a probe or some shit, and it commented on PBS spacetime, and I was like, yeah, so there's probably like a second star in that core. With how fast it accelerates downwards, with ultimately what the light is and everything that we're seeing that comes off of it. And the neutrons that we've, accumulated over the years that make sense for the types that they have, along with, all the rest of it that I've been looking at because of course we have a lot of data to look at our sun. And so if you denoise it the right way, it's like, oh, what do you know? There's something the fuck in there. What the fuck? That's probably fine. It's just, growing ball of iron at this point, it seems. That's what it have to be if that was the case, or it'd be wildly off of all of our measurements of gravity ever. And maybe there's just some weird special relativity condensing kind of information, but it doesn't work because the way that we currently look at it, it doesn't increase like that. It has to burn energy to do what it does. And so there has to be more there than, like, what we're currently seeing. So, effectively means there's something there. But that also is the reason why I'm like, there's a big, huge, massive planetary dwarf headed our way. Or wildly off of all of our measurements ever taken for any light and any kind of LIGO detection work. Because it states very clearly, if you do that, thermodynamically, there's a fucking huge thing heading our way. It's kind of the whole escape plan stuff, you know what I mean? I've got on my channel. Anyways, we were talking about the whole, fluidic field stuff. And then the fielditic fluid, you know what I mean? That's because that's phonon fields! Why can't you understand causal set theories? Damn it, PhDs! You need to get your shit together. We gotta wrap this up. You've gotta fucking use the imagination, man. Anyways. It's a bunch of popping little, like, cubity cubes that do the thingity things, and some of them leave, and then there's, like, that's a comet trail, dusty whatevers, and then this is the given heat over here, and the lessy heat over there, and then it goes boop, 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 bop, 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 doo, 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 and information, you know what I mean? That's a little vibration, bro. And it's like, oh, I'm going to connect a little, you know what I mean? So as it moves around, of course, because you have to do that. And that's a cube, right? That's a sum of cube area, but then that's a given inverse and so on, and a given type of overall influence and resonance frequency of the given type of elicited vibration and field type that we happen to view as interactable, interferable, influenceable. Any of those things will work. But that's a dimensional aspect. You have to think about it like this, a whole bunch of these things, right? Because it's dimension 3. But of course 3 then goes into, and then the other ones, and then they're poppy things that come in and kind of go, hey, come back here, finger. Yeah. Why'd you stick out? There was a sudden I'm not there. No. Let me look at that again. Oh, there was a thing there, it turned out. That's why it did that. Turns out, something popped in at that very moment. Two sides of the same coin. Right? This is what they go with. It's like, no, there was nothing there. What? The energy got destroyed. We can't possibly know. The given movement of the given fingers doing this thing at this speed and these ultimately disruptions equals this is the likely culprit of a fucking field/particle. Why don't you do these things? PhDs! Come on. Keep up. You gotta keep up with me. Why aren't you listening? Probably because you don't want to listen. We're almost finished class. It's almost a whole hour of this. So, the basics turns into, no, you need to know about our particles. You need to know about our math. You need to know how to write the pluses and minuses and the parentheses. And you certainly need to know our symbol wimbles. And you definitely need to know about how much we view these are not what those are. That's not what this is. Are you sure? I'm looking at a whole bunch of bullshit be spouted as if it's something. I mean, I just look at it. Like, I'm looking at a fucking... Just imagine I was looking at something over there. It's just a wall. Because I'm talking to one. But that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't understand, it's like, okay, so, like, how do I describe this to a bunch of people that only know about a given type of math constant of a given type of observation that only allows for a certain type of view, which doesn't allow for actually all the views that are there, which you're not doing. And then you don't really want to look at, it seems like, beyond a given type of diagram, nature that you've been taught to, which is rough. I'm just letting you know. Because it's like a wave function is a lot different than you think, because as a wave function, it's not just a fucking weird obloidy-ish sphere. Okay, like, that's not really what it is. And then the in-between area isn't that much of a vacuum. It's just stuff that we have a hard time measuring. And we don't know how much and how not dense it really is. And whether or not we can view that as a virtual, or whether or not there might be something there that is effectively trying to order itself as a, sort of pressurized and condensing system. But we also need to understand that, like, there's movement to the very obloidial spheres and the given influential vibrations through the space and time we see in between, which, of course, is kind of hard to fucking, measure, right? So, and it's like, yeah, but then there's even an empty space in between that, which is rough. And so the moment I look at their math, I'm like, yeah, you didn't do this, like, in a way that allows for, in any aspect or way, for most of you to even view it as a moving thing, other than like a binary dun da dun da dun da dun da dun, which is not what it is. That's why you kind of need to learn fluid thermodynamics to sort of keep up on that, because it starts acting quite similarly. So, but that's going to have to be the end of it, because it's like, no, we have quasis and ghosts. And I'm like, right, yeah, but those aren't vacuums. Those are wrapped up vibrations inside of a pressure wave that could sometimes be a phononic, but they can also be an opposite to phononic, meaning they're still a thing. They just get shaped weirdly and move through things, which is more ghostly because they are weakly interacting because there's less density there. But then, like, you hit the right vibration of a given type of, like, big pressure wave, and, of course, like, our ears go, ow! That kind of thing. So there's that. And then there's like, oh no, we need to learn all the names. And then, no, I don't want to learn. There's like a fucking bunch of names. No, get out of here. I don't want to do that. Bye.